Welcome back, everyone, to part 3 of Revisiting 2020, where I go back and give a brief video review of the 3 places I visited during last camping season, while I share some of the photos I took and try and remember what my stay was like at these places. So, for the final installment of this mini-series, we're going to visit suburban camping in New Berlin, Wisconsin. And it's spelled just like it was in the title. It was, again, a private residence with a huge backyard, just separated up into 8 private sites and 1 centrally located community site that had running water and a couple hammocks put up and all the tools you could possibly need, saws, hatchets, hammers, anything you could possibly need for camping that you might have forgotten. So that was really convenient. Even if you didn't normally have that piece of gear, you could try it out, see if you wanted it or you found it useful, and then go buy it. Another way to, not buy gear that you're not sure if you're going to need or not is use somebody else's and see if you like it. Unfortunately, with this one, it is no longer on Hipcamp, so I don't know what happened. I know she had said since she was one of the cheaper ones at only $20 per night, she was getting a little bit of a homeless population problem. So I don't know if the neighbors took offense to that or if something else happened. I'm not familiar with the laws, but long story short, it's gone. And this was my default favorite spot just because it was so easy to get to. It was literally one road for me, right down Beloit Road, and bam, I was there. And everything was so convenient, but the sites were all very private, exactly what I was looking for. Far enough apart where I didn't have to worry about music or noise making or any of that to the wee hours of the morning. So even though I had plans to eventually review all 8 of the sites that are on there, I only got to 2 of them. Site number 5 was the site that was closest to the community site. So everything was very convenient at this site. Was just, a short walk to water, short walk to tools, short walk to soap, because they did have like a sink that was just, rigged up to a hose. So it was a cold water only sink, but they had, a little counter set up where you could do dishes and everything else right there. So that was super nice being that close to the community site. Unfortunately, that's probably the least private of all the sites because it was right off of a main path. So although you did have a little bit of vegetation blocking you, you could hear and see the tops of heads walking past on the public trail that was right off of that campsite there. Lots of morning sun at site number 5. So if you're an early bird, this was probably a great this would be a great site for you. I'm not an early bird, so getting woken up at 8 o'clock in the morning because my tent is just so unbearably hot wasn't my idea of a good time. Lots of afternoon shade in this site, though. You just deal with a lot of morning sun, but then you're in the shade pretty much from noon on. So it does get better if you're not that much of a sun person. I probably wouldn't stay at this site again just because of the sleeping in factor. I would really like to sleep past 8 a.m. when I am camping. So this site I would probably avoid. Although I wouldn't go home if this was the only site still available. I'd just figure out a way to cope. Maybe set up a tarp or something. Try and create my own shade. The other site I stayed at here at this location was site number 6, which this place got a little confusing because these sites weren't numbered in order. They were numbered in order of their construction. So where site 5 is the closest to the community site, site 6 is actually the furthest away from it, but the first one in when you enter the property. So it was really convenient to get in and out of that site with my scooter because it was just right in and right out. It was a little bit more difficult to get water. It was a bit further of a walk, across the property to get to that community site. Tons of shade in this one, so I was very happy. Just shade, shade, and more shade. Very little sun broke through the giant pine trees you're surrounded by at that site. So that was really appreciated when I was there. This is probably one of the more private sites at this location. It's really off the main trail. It has its own trail that just goes off probably about 50 yards or so, if I had to guess, off the main trail. So as long as you had a fire going and someone could see your tent and see that that site was occupied, no one really came walking down that trail at all. So you did get a lot of privacy there. Downfall, the neighbor has a very obnoxious floodlight on his garage. That's not hooked up to a motion sensor. It's just on, and it's on all night, and it's pointed directly at Site 6. So it wasn't super bad, but I could have lived life without it. So I was really looking forward to trying out the 6 remaining sites, because even though Site 6 was pretty good minus this light, there might be a better one on the property. And on Site 6 too, the land was fairly uneven, almost resembled like a little model of a kettle moraine. It was just really wavy. So my little camping table, it was kind of hard to try and level that out so stuff didn't slide off of it because the ground was so uneven there. But nothing that anyone couldn't live with. The pros at this location is obviously the convenient location. New Berlin is very convenient from Waukesha or Milwaukee or anywhere in that immediate vicinity. It's a real easy location to get to. Lori was a friendly host. She was always very helpful, delivered the purchased firewood right to your site, was always free to answer questions, always very quick to answer messages. The sites were very private for the most part, except for 5. The rest of them are kind of off the path, so you get a little bit of privacy. Obviously, if you're trying to do anything in the community site, all of the campers are welcome to come and go and use those facilities as they please. They're open for anyone. Another pro was the cost. At only $20 per night, it is one of the cheaper places on Hipcamp. So that it had that going. It was, God, I would go to this place probably 5-6 times a year, at least in the first year, just to get through all of the sites and really experience all of it. And the nearby stores, obviously being in New Berlin, you're not too far off of Moreland Road at this location, so you've got any store you could possibly choose from. My wife even hung out with me one Friday night I was there, and we ordered Uber Eats for dinner. So I had Uber Eats drop off food in the driveway and took it back to the campsite. So anything and everything can be had at that location. Everything's super convenient. The cons are going to be your normal cons of being so close to the city, is obviously there is a freeway that's close by, so you do get some road noise. Again, for me, the noise isn't that big of a deal because I got music going, so I'm not going to hear it anyway. And again, the Milwaukee light pollution, stargazers, you're not going to see much camping in these close to urban areas like I've covered in these videos. But the biggest con of all is that it's gone. It's gone, and I'm really bummed that it's not on Hipcamp anymore, because I probably would have booked a trip out there already had it been there. So I want your opinion down in the comments. What's less creepy in order to inquire if she is still offering camping or not? Should I knock on her door on a Saturday afternoon? Because she should remember me. I can pull up on my scooter. It'll be obvious who I am. Or should I just simply write a letter, since I know the address, and address it to Lori and family, considering I don't really know her last name? I'd really like to find out if she's offering camping on a different site or through different methods other than Hipcamp, because I'd really like to visit that property again. So let me know down in the comments which one's less creepy. Knock on the door after riding my scooter into the driveway, or just writing a letter and mailing it directly to her house. You let me know down in the comments. So going forward, obviously the campsite reviews will be on site at the campsite, happening live while I'm experiencing it. So this was just a little recap, to create content, throw a couple names out there that might work as fish hooks to, try and get some more viewers in the door. Who knows if it'll work or not. If it gets 2, I guess that's successful. If it gets none, that's pretty much what I was expecting anyway. So, again, thanks for joining me, and we will see you next time.